Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Riesky Ramadhani Yasin from Group 6. In this time, I'm going to explain about the methodical history of language teaching.
Well, the first method is the grammar translation method. In the 19th century, the classical method came to be known as the grammar translation method. There was little to distinguish grammar translation from what had gone on in foreign language classrooms for centuries beyond a focus on grammatical rules as the basis for translating from the second to the native language. Remarkably, the grammar translation method withstood attempts at the turn of the 20th century to reform language teaching methodology. And to this day, it's practiced in too many educational contexts. Prater and Selsmurcia listed the major characteristics of grammar translations. The first one is classes are taught in the mother tongue with little active use of target language. The second is much vocabulary is taught in the form of lists of isolated words. The next is long, elaborate explanations of the intricacies of grammar are given. The next is reading is difficult. Classical text is begun early. The next is little attention is paid to the content of texts, which are treated as exercises in grammatical analysis. The next one is often the only drills are exercises in translating disconnected sentences from the target language into the mother tongue. And the last one is little or no attention is given to pronunciation. The next method is the direct method. The basic premise of the direct method was similar to that of Wieser's method, namely that the second language learning should be more like first language learning, loss of oral interaction, spontaneous of the language, no translation between first and second languages, and little or no analysis of grammatical rules. Richards and Rogers summarized the principles of the direct method. The first one is classroom instruction was conducted exclusively in the target language. Second is only everyday vocabulary and sentences were taught. The third is oral communication skills were built up in a carefully treated progression organized around question and answer exchanges between teachers and students in small, intensive classes. The fourth is grammar was taught inductively. The next is new teaching points were taught through modeling and practice. The next is construct vocabulary was taught through demonstrations, objects, and pictures. Abstract vocabulary was taught by association of ideas. The next is both speech and listening comprehension were taught. And the last is correct pronunciation and grammar were emphasized. The direct method enjoyed considerable popularity at the beginning of the 20th century. It was most widely accepted in private language schools where students were highly motivated and where native-speaking teachers could be employed.
The next method is Guin and the series method. Francois Guin, a French teacher of Latin with remarkable insights. The series method, a method that taught learners directly without translation and
conceptually without grammatical rules and explanation, a series of connected sentences that are easy to perceive. The last method is the autolingual method. The autolingual method, or ALM, was firmly grounded in linguistic and psychological theory. Behavioristic psychologists advocated conditioning and habit formation models of learning that were perfectly married with the mimicry drills and pattern practices of autolingual methodology. The characteristics of the ALM may be summed up in the following list, adapted from Prater and Salz-Murcia 1979. The first one is new material is presented in dialogue form. The second is there is dependence on mimicry, memorization of set phrases, and overlearning. The third is structures are sequenced by means of contrastive analysis and taught once at a time. The fourth is structural patterns are taught using repetitive drills. The next is there is little or no grammatical explanation. Grammar is taught by inductive knowledge rather than by deductive explanation. The sixth is vocabulary is strictly limited and learned in context. Seventh is there is much use of tapes, language labs, and visual aids. The next is great importance is attached in pronunciation. The next is very little use of the mother tongue by teacher is permitted. The next is successful responses are immediately reinforced. The next is there is a great effort to get students to produce error-free utterance. The last is there is a tendency to manipulate language and disregard content. I think that's all. Thank you. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.